The night was cold, the sky heavy with dark clouds, and the city lights flickered like dying stars. She sat near the edge of the broken stone wall, knees close to her chest, shivering in silence. The alien girl had no name anyone cared to remember. Among her people, she was called worthless, cursed, unwanted. She had learned long ago that no one wanted to touch her, no one wanted to speak to her. Children threw stones at her in the alleys, laughing when she cried. Merchants pushed her away from their stalls. Guards turned their faces as if she did not exist. Every step she took was heavy. Every breath felt like a weight on her chest. She was only 16 cycles old, but her eyes carried the pain of centuries. Rain began to fall, sharp and cold. She pulled her torn cloak tighter, but it was useless against the storm. Her stomach growled. She had not eaten for 2 days. She whispered to herself, voice weak. Why am I even alive? The sound was swallowed by thunder. Her people believed she carried bad luck. They said if she touched crops, the harvest would rot. They said if she entered a home, sickness would follow. None of it was true, but lies repeated for years become truth in cruel hearts. And so, she became a shadow, hiding in corners, begging for scraps. The city around her was alive with noise. Alien ships landing, traders shouting, lights flashing. But to her it was only a blur. She was invisible, broken, and utterly alone. She pressed her forehead to her knees, tears mixing with the rain. In her chest, a thought grew heavy. Maybe tonight will be my last. She did not hear him at first. Footsteps echoed softly on the wet stone street. They were different from the harsh stomps of soldiers or the rushing steps of merchants. They were slower, steady, almost careful. She lifted her head, eyes glowing faintly violet in the darkness. A figure stood not far away, tall and strange. His clothes were not like the others. His shoulders carried heavy armor. His boots were marked by long journeys. He was human. She had seen humans before, rare visitors in the city, but never this close. Humans were outsiders here, often ignored or feared. Yet this one did not look away from her. He stopped when he saw her curled on the ground. Rain dripped from his hair. His breath misted in the cold air. For a long moment, he said nothing, only looked at her. Her heart raced. She thought, another will laugh. Another will throw me aside. She lowered her head, trying to make herself smaller, but then she heard his voice, low and calm. Are you all right? She froze. No one had asked her that before, not once in her life. Her throat tightened, words caught inside. She shook her head slowly, not trusting her voice. He stepped closer, carefully, as if not to scare her. He took something from his pack and held it out. It was food, bread wrapped in cloth. The smell reached her nose, warm and sweet. Her stomach ached so strongly she nearly cried. But she pulled back, suspicious. Her people had taught her a lesson. No one gives without a price. Her voice was sharp though weak. Why? Why give this to me? The human crouched, lowering himself to her level. Rain dripped from his chin. His eyes were steady, not cruel. Because you need it, he said simply. His words were soft, yet heavy with truth. She stared, not knowing whether to trust him. Her hands shook. She wanted to reach out, but fear held her. What if he mocked her once she grabbed it? What if he snatched it away and laughed like the others? The storm grew louder, thunder shaking the air. The bread was still in his hand. Untouched, he did not pull it back. He did not hurry her. He just waited, silently, as if he had all the time in the world. Her breath came in fast shivers. Finally, with trembling fingers, she reached forward. Her claws brushed his glove. She flinched, expecting him to recoil in disgust like everyone else. But he did not move. He did not flinch. He let her take the bread. Her eyes widened, shock written across her face. For the first time in her life, someone touched her and did not treat her like poison. She clutched the bread close, almost afraid it would vanish. Her throat burned with hunger. She wanted to eat. But another fear whispered inside. What if it was a trick? What if it was poisoned? The human seemed to read her doubt. He took another piece of bread, tore it in half, and ate it before her eyes, slowly, calmly, like it was the most natural thing. Then he nodded at her. Safe, he said. Her lips trembled. Slowly she bit into the bread. The taste was warm, soft, real. Her chest tightened with an emotion she could not name. Tears rolled down her cheeks. But this time, they were not only from pain. The human said nothing more. He only sat there in the rain beside her, quiet, watching the storm. She could not understand him. Why did he stay? Why did he not turn away like all others? For the first time, a question rose in her heart, one that carried both fear and hope. Could this human be different? And as the storm raged on, she felt something strange stir within her, something she had thought lost forever, the fragile beginning of trust. The rain slowed, but the night still held its cold breath. She sat with the bread in her hands, tasting every bite like it was the last food she would ever have. The human did not speak much. He only watched the storm with calm eyes, like a man used to silence. She studied him carefully. His face was marked with scars, but they were not ugly. They spoke of battles survived. His armor was scratched, his boots muddy from long travel. He looked tired, yet strong, and there was something about him she could not understand. Her people always said humans were dangerous, greedy, and cunning. They told stories of humans who came to take resources, to fight wars, to control. But this one, this single man, did not fit the tales. He had given her food without asking for anything in return. That alone made him stranger than anyone she had ever met. Why? She asked again, her voice more steady now. Why me? Her eyes narrowed, glowing faintly in the dim light. I am nothing here. He turned to her slowly, his gaze steady, not sharp. Because you were hungry, he said simply. She frowned, not satisfied. She was used to words twisted into traps. His answer was too simple, too clean. She wanted to find the hidden catch, but there was none. Silence fell between them, broken only by distant thunder. Then she saw something in his hand, a small device glowing faintly blue. He was checking something. Maps maybe, or signals. She realized then he was not from this city. He was a traveler, a soldier lost or waiting. Her heart quickened. She wondered, if he is lost, why stay here with me? He could be looking for his way home. The human looked back at her, as if he read her thoughts. You live here? He asked softly. She shook her head bitterly. I exist here. I do not live. The words came out sharp, almost like a knife. He did not flinch. He only nodded, as if he understood. He leaned his back against the broken wall, closing his eyes for a moment. Sometimes existing is harder than living, he said quietly. His voice carried a weight she did not expect. She looked at him with suspicion, but also curiosity. Could a human really understand pain like hers? He looked strong, powerful, not like someone who had ever been shunned. Yet there was a sadness in his voice, something deep, something old. The bread in her hand was gone. She had eaten all of it without noticing. For the first time in years her stomach felt warm. She whispered, "Thank you." Her people had never taught her gratitude, but the words escaped on their own. The human opened his eyes, gave a small nod. "No need," he replied, but the softness in his tone felt strange to her, almost dangerous, because it made her want to believe. A sudden noise cut the silence. Shouts in the distance, heavy boots splashing in puddles. Her body froze. Her ears twitched. She knew those voices, the cruel ones from the market, the ones who called her cursed. They were near, and if they found her with a human, things would get worse. She pushed herself back, panic flashing in her eyes. "You must go," she hissed. "They cannot see you here. They will hurt you." The human's brow furrowed. He stood up slowly, placing a hand on the hilt of a blade strapped to his side. His stance was calm but ready. "Who?" he asked. Before she could answer, 3 alien men turned the corner. Their eyes landed on her first, cruel smiles spreading across their faces. "There you are, worthless," one spat. "Hiding again." Then they noticed the human, and their smiles twisted into anger. "And now you bring an outsider into your filth." The girl shrank, pressing against the wall. She had faced their cruelty before. Mockery, kicks, sometimes worse. But this time she was not alone. Her heart pounded. She glanced at the human, expecting him to step away, to leave her like everyone else. Instead, the human stepped forward, his voice steady. "Enough." The men laughed. "Stay out of this. Off-worlder. This is our trash to handle." One shoved a hand toward the girl, but before it could reach her, the human moved. His hand gripped the alien's wrist with iron strength. The man cried out, trying to pull back. but the human did not release. Trash, the human repeated, his voice low. Dangerous. She is not trash. He shoved the alien back, hard enough to send him stumbling into the mud. The other two stepped forward, anger flaring. One pulled a blade. The other raised a staff. The girl gasped, fear choking her throat. She had seen fights before, and they never ended well, but the human's stance never wavered. His eyes burned with a quiet fire. Leave, he said. His voice carried a weight that made even the rain pause. For a moment, the men hesitated, glancing at each other. Then one spat on the ground. Not worth it. Not tonight. With curses, they pulled their companion away, disappearing into the storm. The girl could not breathe. Her chest rose and fell fast. She stared at the human in disbelief. Why? She whispered, her voice breaking. Why risk yourself for me? The human looked at her, rain dripping from his jaw. His answer was simple, almost too simple. Because you are worth it. Her eyes widened. The words pierced deeper than any wound. For the first time in her life, someone saw her as more than a curse, more than nothing. As the night deepened, the girl realized something terrifying. The human had become dangerous, not because he would hurt her, but because he had shown her hope, and hope was the one thing she had always been too afraid to hold. The storm had passed, but the streets were still wet and empty. The girl sat close to the wall, her cloak damp, her hair sticking to her pale face. The human had not left her side. He stood nearby, silent, as if waiting for her to breathe again. Her hands shook, not from cold, but from fear. No one had ever defended her. No one had ever stood between her and cruelty. And yet this stranger had. He had risked anger from her tormentors. He had risked being marked as an enemy in a city not his own. She stared at him, unsure. Her voice trembled. Why do you care? I am nothing here. Her words were sharp, filled with years of bitterness, but beneath them was a whisper of something else, something fragile. The human crouched down, meeting her eyes. You are not nothing, he said firmly. His tone was calm, not pitying. For a moment, she almost believed him. Almost. Her throat ached. She wanted to speak, but years of silence wrapped around her like chains. Still, something in his eyes, steady and unwavering, pulled the words from her lips. She whispered, "Do you know why they hate me?" He waited, patient. His silence was not empty. It was space for her to breathe. She pulled back her sleeve, showing faint scars across her skin, some old, some new. They say I was born cursed. When I was young, crops withered after my first steps in the field. A sickness spread in my street. They said it was because of me. Even my family threw me out. Her voice cracked, but she forced herself to go on. I begged them to believe me. I begged them to keep me. But no one listened. They whispered I carried death. They looked at me as if I was poison. And so, I became poison in their eyes. The human did not interrupt. His gaze did not turn away. She had seen many turn their heads in disgust when she revealed her scars. But he did not. His silence felt like protection. She lowered her sleeve, curling into herself again. I tried to fight it at first. I tried to prove them wrong. I worked in the fields. I cleaned streets. I cared for children. But when anything bad happened, any accident, they pointed at me. Always me. Her tears mixed with the dirt on her face. And so I stopped trying, she whispered. If they all say I am cursed, then maybe I am. The human's jaw tightened. He leaned closer, his voice low. You are not cursed. You are abandoned. That is different. Her eyes widened. The words struck her like light in darkness. No one had ever said that before. No one had drawn the line between lie and truth so clearly. He sat beside her on the wet stone. Pain does not mean curse. It means you survived what they could not. That is strength. She shook her head, not able to believe. Strength, she repeated bitterly. What strength? I hide. I starve. I cry until I sleep. The human's gaze softened. Yet you are still here, he said. Still breathing. Still fighting even if you do not see it. That is strength they will never understand. Her chest tightened. The air around her felt heavier. Her heart pounded. She wanted to believe, but fear clung to her. If she let herself believe, what if he left like the rest? What if he turned away tomorrow? She bit her lip, then asked the question she had never dared before. Will you leave me too? The human looked at her, rain still dripping from his armor. His answer came slow, but steady. Not tonight. It was not a promise forever, but it was more than she had ever received. Her eyes stung with tears. She pressed her forehead to her knees, hiding her face. Her voice was small, broken. Why do your words hurt less than theirs? The human leaned back, watching the dim glow of alien lanterns in the street. His voice was distant, as if speaking from memory. Because I know what it feels like, to be pushed aside, to be unwanted, to be seen only for scars, not for worth. She lifted her head, surprise flashing across her face. Humans were always told as proud, strong, never broken. You, she whispered, you were shunned too. His lips pressed tight. He did not answer, not fully, but his silence told her enough. She realized then that his kindness was not born of pity, but of knowing. The night grew quieter. Only the drip of water from rooftops filled the silence. She felt her body loosen. For the first time in years, she did not feel like prey, not while he was there. Her fingers brushed the stone beside her, her voice unsteady. If you stay, maybe I can try again. Maybe I can believe I am not what they say. The human turned his eyes to her, firm and unyielding. Believe it now, he said. She gasped softly. His certainty was too strong, too strange. Her people spoke with hate. He spoke with truth. She had no answer, only the sound of her heart racing against the chains of her past. And in that quiet, broken street, something impossible began. An outcast dared to hope, because a human refused to see her as less. The morning sun broke through the clouds, casting pale light across the city. The girl had barely slept, her mind tangled between fear and a strange new warmth. The human had stayed through the night, sitting near her like a silent guard. For the first time, she had woken without terror of being alone. As the city stirred, noise returned to the streets. Merchants opened their stalls. Children ran through puddles. Guards marched by with heavy steps. Yet she noticed something new. People stared, not just at her, but at him. A human standing beside an outcast drew whispers. Her chest tightened. She whispered urgently, "You should not stay near me. They will notice. They will make trouble." The human's eyes scanned the crowd, calm and steady. "Let them," he replied. His voice was like stone, unmoving. His words unsettled her, not because they were harsh, but because they carried certainty she had never known. They walked through the streets together. Her cloak hid her face, but still she felt eyes burning on her. A group of children pointed and laughed. One boy shouted, "Cursed one walks again." The laughter echoed like knives. She flinched, ready to shrink back. But the human stopped. He turned his gaze toward the children, not with anger, but with such steady weight that their laughter faltered. The boy who shouted lowered his head, pulled back by his friends. The girl stared in shock. No one had ever silenced their mockery before, not without violence. Her heart raced. A thought whispered, dangerous and fragile. Maybe with him, I am not powerless. They reached the marketplace, a place she avoided for years. The air smelled of spices, oils, and smoke. Merchants shouted prices, waving hands to lure customers. As soon as she stepped into view, voices shifted, sneers followed her. "Why is she here?" One muttered, "Should be locked away." Another spat. Before she could retreat, the human stepped forward, his hand lifted in calm command. "We need food," he said firmly. His voice carried across the market. The merchants hesitated, confused. No one had ever demanded food while standing beside her. One merchant laughed bitterly. Food for her? Why not throw it into the fire instead? The human's gaze sharpened. He placed a coin on the counter, heavy and shining. "Food," he repeated. This time there was no space for mockery. The merchant froze, then slowly pushed a bag of grain across the stall. His eyes narrowed with hate, but he did not speak further. The girl's breath caught. Her hands trembled as she held the bag. She had not touched food bought openly in years. Her voice cracked. "Why? Why do you do this?" The human looked at her, his expression steady. "Because they were wrong about you." Her throat tightened. The words threatened to break her. She pressed the bag close, hiding her tears. Around them, whispers grew louder. People muttered, some with anger, some with fear, but none dared to move against him. They left the market, walking toward the quiet alleys. The girl spoke softly. They will not forget this. They will hate you now too. The human shrugged, his tone calm. I have carried hate before. It does not break me. She stopped in her steps, staring at him. How? She whispered. How do you walk with so much weight? He paused, eyes distant. Because someone once carried mine. His words were simple, but heavy. She wanted to ask more, but the look in his eyes told her the wound was still deep. The streets grew emptier as they moved further. Suddenly, she felt it. A shift in the air, heavy footsteps trailing them. Her ears twitched, her voice lowered. We are being followed. The human's hand brushed the hilt of his weapon, his eyes scanning the shadows. Behind them, 2 guards in dark armor stepped into view, their faces stern, eyes fixed on the girl. There she is, one guard said coldly. The cursed one, she is not allowed here. The girl froze. Her body shook. She had faced guards before, and they never listened, never spared. She whispered quickly, do not fight them. They will kill you too. The human stepped forward, his stance protective, his voice firm. She has done nothing. The guard sneered. Her existence is crime enough. Move aside. Human, this is not your concern. The girl's heart pounded. Her claws dug into her cloak. She wanted to scream, to run, but her legs would not move. Fear rooted her to the ground. The human did not move. His voice hardened. Then make it mine. The guards drew closer, their hands on weapons. Tension filled the air. The girl's breath came in sharp gasps. She had seen many turn against her, but never had she seen anyone stand this firmly at her side. Her eyes burned. She whispered through tears, Why? Why risk everything for me? The human glanced back, his gaze meeting hers. Because you deserve to stand, not to crawl. The guards drew their blades, and in that moment, the fragile thread of trust between them became steel. The street narrowed into shadows, stone walls dripping with rain. The guards stepped closer, their blades catching the faint light. The girl trembled, her body pressed against the wall. Her voice cracked. Please, just go. Do not fight for me. You will die. But the human did not move. His stance was solid, like a mountain that refused to bow. His hand rested on his blade, but his voice was calm. She has done nothing wrong. The first guard sneered. She is cursed. Her breath spreads misfortune. Her touch brings decay. That is crime enough. The girl closed her eyes, pain striking deep. She had heard these words too many times, but hearing them now, in front of the human, felt worse. She feared he would finally see the truth they believed and walk away. Instead, he stepped forward, his voice cut through the rain. Your curse is cowardice. You blame a child for your failures. His words were sharp, heavier than steel. The guards growled. One raised his blade and lunged. The girl gasped, covering her face, but the human moved with trained speed. His sword flashed, blocking the strike. The clash rang out in the narrow street. The second guard circled, staff raised. He swung at the human's side. The girl cried out, but the human turned, blocking again. Sparks flew from the strike. His strength held, his step steady. She had never seen anyone fight for her, never seen anyone risk his body for her safety. Her heart pounded, torn between fear and awe. The guards were skilled, but the human's movements were precise. His blade cut through the air like he had fought 100 battles before. He did not attack wildly. He defended, as if his only purpose was to shield her. One guard hissed, Why protect filth? His blade sliced toward the girl, but the human shifted, taking the strike across his arm instead. Blood stained his armor, red against the gray. The girl screamed, No. Her claws gripped the stone, her whole body shook. Why would you take that from me? The human's eyes burned as he stood tall, ignoring the wound. His voice thundered, Because she is worth more than your hate. The guards faltered at his words. Even for a moment, his tone was not just anger, it was conviction. The girl's breath caught, her chest ached, his words echoed in her mind. Worth more. She had never heard anyone say that, never. The guards regrouped. One raised his staff, glowing with crackling energy, a strike meant to end life. The girl froze, knowing she would be the target. But before the weapon could fall, the human stepped forward again. His sword swung, knocking the staff from the guard's hand. The weapon shattered against the wall, The sound echoed down the empty street. The second guard cursed, fear flickering in his eyes. The human pressed forward, blade steady. His presence was like fire pushing back the dark. The guards hesitated, then stepped back. One spat on the ground. This is not over, human. You will regret protecting her. They turned and vanished into the shadows, their threats lingering like smoke. The street fell silent. Only the sound of rain dripping on stone remained. The girl pressed her hands to her mouth, her eyes wide with shock. She rushed forward, staring at the blood on his arm. You are hurt. Why did you not move aside? Why take their strike? The human sheathed his blade, his breath steady. He looked at her with calm certainty. Because your life matters, more than my wound. Her legs weakened. She dropped to her knees, tears falling freely. No one had ever said her life mattered. Not once, she whispered, voice shaking. Why? Why me? I am no one. The human crouched, his bloody hand steady on his knee, his voice softened. Because I see you. Not what they call you. Not what they fear you. Her chest felt like it would break. His words carved through the years of lies. For the first time, she felt the weight of her chains loosen, just a little. But fear still coiled in her. She whispered, they will come back, stronger. They will not stop until I am gone. If you stay with me, they will hunt you too. The human's eyes narrowed, his jaw set. Then let them come. She shook her head, unable to understand. Why? She asked again, desperate. His reply was simple, but it shook her entire world. Because I would rather fight beside you than live in a world that shuns you. Her breath hitched, her tears spilled. She had no words, only the sound of her own heart breaking free of the cage it had been locked in for so long. In the silence that followed, the truth settled between them. She was no longer alone, no longer cursed, no longer unseen. The night had tested her worth, and for the first time, someone had chosen her. The night gave way to a pale morning. The human's wound was wrapped in cloth torn from his own shirt. The girl sat beside him in silence, her hands trembling as she watched the red stain grow. She whispered, this is my fault. If you had not helped me, you would not bleed. The human looked at her, calm even through pain. I chose this, he said. His words carried no regret, only certainty. She lowered her head, shame pulling at her chest. I am nothing. I can give nothing back. But the human shook his head. You are not nothing. You have something they fear. That is why they call it a curse. But I do not see a curse. I see a gift. Her eyes lifted, confused. Gift, she repeated. I have nothing. What gift? He reached into his pack and pulled out a broken device, wires sparking faintly. This is human tech, a guidance module. I was repairing it, but when I hold it near you, it changes. He placed the device close, and to her shock, the spark stabilized. The light glowed steady, as if drawn to her presence. She gasped, pulling back. No, this is the curse. Things break near me. I told you. The human shook his head. No. Look again. He handed her the device. Her claws shook as she touched it, but instead of breaking, the wires reconnected. The screen flickered alive, steady and whole. Her mouth opened in disbelief. Her voice broke. It healed. I did not destroy it. I fixed it. The human's eyes softened. Not curse. You carry energy, something unique. Your people feared it because they did not understand it. She stared at the glowing device, tears welling in her eyes. Her entire life, she believed she destroyed everything she touched. Now, for the first time, she saw the opposite. She could restore, repair, heal. Her hands clutched the device, her heart racing. All these years, I believed their lies. The human placed a hand gently on her shoulder. Because no one gave you truth, but truth is here, in your hands. She shivered, emotions crashing inside. If this is true, then why did they hate me? His voice grew heavy. Because fear is easier than acceptance. Weak men call strength a curse when they do not understand it. The girl's breath shook. Her tears fell freely. She pressed the glowing device to her chest. I am not cursed, she whispered. The words felt like fire, burning away years of chains. I am not cursed. The human smiled faintly. Say it louder, believe it. Her voice grew stronger, trembling but rising. I am not cursed. I am not cursed. Her cry echoed through the quiet street. For the first time, she felt her lungs open, her body lighter. But their moment did not last. From the rooftops, shadows moved. The same guards had returned, this time with more. Their leader's voice carried like venom. There she is, the cursed one and her pet human. Take them both. The girl froze, fear slamming into her chest. Her hands clutched the glowing device tight. Her voice weak. They will kill us. The human stood tall, sword drawn. Not if we fight together. She shook her head. I cannot fight. I have no strength. He looked at her firmly. You have more strength than you know. You can turn their lies into truth. You can make broken things whole again. And right now, I need you to believe that includes me. Her eyes widened. His wound bled through the cloth. She realized what he meant. He wanted her to try. Her hands trembled as she reached for his arm. Her claws touched the blood-soaked fabric. She closed her eyes, whispering, "Not cursed, not cursed, not cursed." At first, nothing happened. Then warmth spread through her palms. A faint light glowed under her claws. The torn flesh began to knit. The bleeding slowed. The human gasped softly, but did not pull away. When she opened her eyes, the wound was smaller, still raw but closing. Her breath caught. I healed you." The human's lips curved in a rare smile. "You did. You are not nothing. You are everything." Her heart raced. Fear and awe tangled inside her. For the first time she saw herself not as cursed, but as powerful. But the guards were closing in, their blades flashing in the morning light. The girl rose to her feet, shoulders trembling, but her voice no longer small. "I will not run this time." The human stepped beside her, his sword ready. "Good, because they will learn today that you are not what they call you." As the guards charged, the girl held the glowing device in her hands, her power flickering bright. Her heart no longer whispered lies, it shouted truth. She was not cursed, she was chosen. The guards closed in, their blades raised high. The girl stood trembling, but not from fear, from something new, something fierce that burned in her chest. The human stepped forward, sword steady, his eyes calm even against the storm of enemies. The leader sneered, "Stand aside. Human, that creature is cursed. She has no place among the living." The girl's voice rose, strong for the first time. "I am not cursed." Her words cut through the street like lightning. The guards faltered, not used to hearing her speak with fire. She lifted her hands, power glowing faint and warm. The broken stones beneath her feet hummed, small cracks sealing, broken metal nearby, bending whole again. The guards' eyes widened. Their curses turned to whispers of fear. The human smiled faintly. "Show them," he said. The guards lunged, but she did not shrink back this time. Her energy pulsed outward, striking the ground with a soft glow. The first guard stumbled, his blade snapping in half as if rust had eaten it. Another fell back, his armor joints seizing like stone. The leader growled, raising his blade toward her. But the human blocked him, steel clashing with steel. Their blades sparked. Each strike echoed through the narrow street. The girl's hands shook, but she raised them higher, her voice steady. "I will not hide. I will not crawl. I will not be what you say." Her power spread in waves, not destroying, but repairing. The walls that had been cracked for years grew smooth. Broken lanterns flickered to life. The street itself seemed to breathe again. The crowd had gathered now, eyes wide. They had always believed she was poison, yet here she was, healing, restoring, giving life back to what was broken. Whispers rose among them. She is not cursed. She heals. We were wrong." But some voices still hissed. "No, it is a trick. She will bring ruin." The human's blade clashed with the leader's. He pushed him back with one final strike. The guard staggered, eyes burning with hate, but also fear. "This is not the end," he spat, retreating with the others. Silence followed. The crowd stared at the girl, some with awe, some with shame. She stood in the center, chest heaving, her hands still glowing faintly. Her voice trembled but rang clear. "I am not cursed. I am not poison. I am worth something." The people had no answer. For the first time in her life, they had nothing to throw at her. No stone, no insult. The human stepped beside her, his presence like a shield, his voice calm. "They will not decide who you are, you will." Her throat tightened, She turned to him, eyes shining with tears. Then who am I? He placed his hand gently over her shoulder. You are the one who takes what is broken and makes it whole. The words sank into her soul. She pressed a hand to her chest, her heart racing. For years she believed she was a curse. Now, for the first time, she believed she was a healer. The crowd began to fade, whispers spreading. Some would never accept her. Some would fear her forever. But some had seen truth, and truth cannot be unseen. The girl turned to the human, her voice soft. Where do we go now? He looked toward the horizon, where the sky stretched wide and open. Anywhere you choose, he replied. You are not chained to this place anymore. Her hands trembled. She whispered, I have no family, no home. He shook his head. You have both now. Her eyes widened. Tears blurred her vision. You mean me? His voice was steady, without hesitation. Yes, you are not alone anymore. I see you, and I will not turn away. Her chest broke open with emotion. She whispered, her voice fragile but strong. I was nothing to them, but everything to you. The human nodded, his smile faint but real. That is enough. Together they walked out of the alley, the city behind them buzzing with whispers. The girl did not look back. She carried scars, yes, but now she carried truth too. Every step beside him felt like stepping into a new world. For the first time, her life was not about surviving, but about living. The girl who was shunned by all, broken and alone, had finally found her worth, not in the eyes of her people, but in the heart of a human who refused to see her as less. And in that moment, the story of an outcast ended, and the story of a healer began.